So, guys, here we are, MMA UK News. Stoomboy, as always, MMA UK BJJ show. So, talking about grappling then. So, Grapple Kings 8. It's going to be next Saturday, so Saturday the 23rd of July. It's going to be held. There has been a couple of different venue changes, but obviously Grapple Kings were just trying to get the right venue. So this one's going to be at the Radisson Blu Hotel in Cardiff. Now, again, Radisson Blu, it's an unbelievable venue, a great venue. Anybody can go online, see pictures and stuff like that. It's going to be a great place, and it's going to be really, really good to have a grappling event and quite a high level hotel chain, because obviously we see it in like church halls and local halls and stuff like that. So it's going to be good to see it, obviously, event, and now that we're going to be in a kind of big hotel. So hopefully it's the start of a lot more events coming over to Cardiff. I know we've got Polaris and so on. Cage Warriors obviously been there quite often. So hopefully we're going to see a lot more events coming over to Wales. So now, ticket availability, anybody looking for tickets, head over to the Grapple Kings Facebook page. It will take you through to their website, and it'll take you through Eventbrite. I believe tickets are £30 and £35. And again, there is going to be pay-per-view on this as well. So it's going to be on Fight TV. And again, what we'll do is at the end of this interview, we'll explain the pay-per-view details and so on. So it's going to be Team England versus Team Wales. So it's the Four Nations event. We've already had Ireland and Northern Ireland went at each other, and Team Ireland came out on top. So obviously the winner of this one is going to go on and face Team Ireland later in the year to be crowned the Four Nations champion. So again, we're talking about some of the best grapplers across both nations. So England and Wales are going to be on this card. There's some Englishmen on the Welsh side, and I believe there's a Welshman on the English side as well, if I remember rightly. So it's a bit bizarre, but yeah, listen, they've got two great teams, two really, really good teams. So so my next guest is going to be on the show that night. So Mitch Goode. Now, obviously, anybody that knows Mitch will probably know him from his amateur career. His amateur MMA career is absolutely unbelievable. Champion, obviously the Cage Warriors, I believe Cage Warriors Wales champion and so on. Unbelievable talent. Well, was previously not ranked number one, obviously moved up a weight, as he was saying, so he's obviously working his way up to the top of that weight division as well. So but obviously he's going to be on the card grappling. Now, one thing about Mitch, anybody that knows Mitch will know from his amateur career, his submission rate is very, very high. So he's not coming in with a novice background. He's coming in with a very, very high level grappling style. So obviously represent Impact Gym. So again, we've spoke to a few people coming from Impact Gym, so they're going to be well represented on this card on the 23rd. So Mitch, listen, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for obviously taking the time to speak to me, buddy.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. I've seen a lot of your interviews. I like what you're doing. It's really fun.
Oh, listen, thank you very much. Thank you. Likewise, obviously, I've seen a lot of your stuff. So, and again, I love what I see. I absolutely love what I see. And this is going to be interesting because, as I say, when I saw your name coming up, obviously I knew you through the amateur MMA, and I was like, and I know you've done obviously grappling comps before, but I thought this is going to be brilliant. I'm actually going to get to see you live and in person doing something that I love to do.
Hopefully I don't mess it up then, eh?
Listen, you know, I was talking to James Amos the other day, and I was talking to Paul Jeffries as well, and we did obviously, your name was obviously brought up, talking about training partners and so on, and some of the things they were telling me, they were saying, listen, Mitch is an absolute killer, man, an absolute savage. So you definitely, they say again, with them being a little bit older, you keep them on their toes, you keep them at the top of their game as well. So
yeah, they're old man strength. That's what I got to keep down.
Definitely, that's that Mustang strength, mate. That's that Mustang strength.
Power, mate. 100%. Yeah, if you get Jeffries grab your wrist, it ain't coming back. It's just James as well. He gets on your neck. It's horrible. It's absolutely awful.
And what about you then, Mitch? You're obviously training at the moment. Obviously, I know that you're always training. I mean, there's never a day goes by where you're not doing something. So I mean, what's training? How's training going for you at the moment then?
Well, it's like, so I've just come out of camp because I just did the Four Nations IMAF tournament, like the Four Nations for MMA. So it's been pretty intense, sort of 8 weeks of just development. So cross training quite a bit, like different disciplines. Obviously, I've got to get my striking in as well as my grappling. But I grapple most mornings, every day, and evenings as well. So it's just a constant process. So they're not always hard sessions in terms of like hard physically, but I meet up with my brother, other training partners and stuff like that, and we start to develop new ideas and things. It's been really helpful at the moment actually with my brother, because he doesn't compete much. He's like the best kept secret at like the lower sort of level blue, purple belt level grappler. He doesn't ever compete, but so he's constantly developing like new ideas and stuff. So it almost means that I can just go to him for little cheat codes every now and again and find stuff out. And just constant development. If you're not able to beat the version of you of the week before, you're not doing the right thing. So that's always my goal.
Yeah. It's quite funny that, because I mean that you see that in every gym you go to up and down all over the world. Probably you've always got a core of guys who are out competing all the time, but there's always people in the background who, in a lot of cases, some of them are better than the guys that are out there winning world championships and Euros, British and things like that. And as you said, best kept secrets. They're obviously, they don't do it. They maybe do it as a hobby, or they do it for the love of the game.
There's a few guys like that who I encounter and train with quite a lot, and I think for me, my brother's one of those guys who he's same weight as me as well, so the rounds that we have with each other are really good, but he's constantly developing. I went out with him and another training partner, Pin, who we might be mentioning. We went out to Belgium to train with Craig Jones and Lachlan Giles. We were out there for a week training. Just for Ellis, is just getting, my brother, it's just him getting ideas to bring back and train and develop, and for me, I'm trying to take those and test them in competition a little bit more. So I think most people will know this, like the development kind of takes a little bit of a pause sometimes when you've got a date in the diary, because you start focusing more on your A game in the lead up to competition, so that you don't, that you're sharpening your main weapons, basically. That's how I look at it. And then you add a new weapon to the toolbox and you end up, put that away and then strengthen your stronger stuff. So having people like that around you in the gym is so, so important. I think those guys don't get enough credit because they're not the ones on the podium, but I think a lot of the times those guys are what makes the wins happen and things. So
definitely. What about you then? I mean, obviously I know that, again, I speak to a lot of MMA fighters, both amateur and professional, that are doing grappling competitions. So I mean, what's for you, what's the kind of main differences in regards to maybe training? Because I know that obviously the training for MMA is going to be a lot more intense, because obviously you're having to maybe concentrate on weight cuts and keep up with like strength and conditioning and so on and so on. But what's the kind of main differences for you in between training for MMA and training for jiu-jitsu?
Well, a couple of things. It's more mentally taxing, I think, having to organize your life around, like you said, like your weight cuts and getting scheduling your time smart so that you don't burn yourself out across like an 8-week period. Because usually eight weeks for me is like quite a long camp. A lot of people do 12, and some people do shorter camps, but 8 weeks tends to be like the middle ground for a lot of MMA fighters. With grappling, I think you're constantly in it, and you can go quite hard quite often in grappling because you're not taking blows to the head, you're not taking hard impacts on your hands. Impact like is a lot easier, I'd say, to train more frequently at more of an intensity for grappling. So being able to take like some of the striking aspects of it out of my training at the moment and focus more on the grappling has been quite nice. And then obviously when MMA fights come up, you go back into the swing of, I look at everything more seasonal, basically. So I have like my MMA quote unquote like season where you're fighting multiple times in a shorter space of time, and then the off season I'm grappling, competing, training a lot more, like enjoying your training a little bit more. I enjoy grappling a lot more than I enjoy getting punched in the head, but that's the main difference for me.
Yeah. And it's good as well. You talked about the mentality side of things as well. Obviously, going into an MMA fight is obviously going to be, again, as you said, mentally challenging. It's because obviously you're having to concentrate on all these other things. Whereas in a jiu-jitsu match, obviously, again, there's a little bit of nerves in there, but it's a little bit more relaxed. You can enjoy it more.
Yeah, I find like the MMA is pretty stressful. To say the least. It's a very stressful day. It's a stressful day. I hate every aspect of MMA outside of getting your hand raised. You know what I mean? Like I even do it. Like I'm at the back, and my coaches would say this. Like I don't want to go out there. You know what I mean? I get that moment. Like, why am I doing? I don't need to do this. I enjoy going to the gym and learning some kickboxing, and then. But for me, the test and the challenge is like overrides that, and you think, right, I've got to do this because it's a difficult thing to do and to overcome. But for grappling, I think my problem with grappling, the matches that I have gone in there and not done as well,
Yeah.
Because I go in there a bit too relaxed, because it's a big difference between MMA and grappling in my own head. It's not to say that grappling is easier. I see more injuries in grappling than I do MMA from a higher level of leg and tendons. But in terms of the nerves going in, I know that I'm not necessarily going to get my nose plastered across my face, or so superficial injuries, if that makes sense. It's going to be, if I get caught and I don't tap, it's going to be a bad night for me. But there's always that, it could end. You just end it.
Yeah, no, definitely. Do you feel that obviously being an MMA fighter, then that helps with like nerves and stuff like that for a jiu-jitsu or for a grappling match, because it is so different. You've got two different kind of different arts that you're looking at. So you do think that helps with your nerves? You talked about going in there maybe a little too relaxed. So
the thing with grappling is, so most people who watch grappling grapple. You know what I mean? So most people understand what it's like it being in those positions, or if you get tapped or you tap somebody, there's an understanding of like, oh my God, like that was really cool. Or there's a knowledgeable crowd usually in the grappling, right? Unless your family are coming to watch you, or your nan's coming to see how you're doing at your jiu-jitsu, right? But MMA, all your mates want to come, and they want to like get your ticket. And those guys have never been in an MMA gym a day in their lives. Now, some of them understand the effort that goes into it, but then there's other people, whether it be fans of the guy that you're fighting or whoever, that don't understand the hard work that's gone in from both parties to do well. So the nerves come from wanting to perform, and for these guys that like might not necessarily have a good understanding of like what it takes to get in there. So the nerves kind of come from like, I hope I don't put a bad show out of myself, because the 10 minutes you're in that cage, or the 10 minutes that you're in a match is the smallest aspect of your training. Like if they watch you training every day, I could be a world champion on the mat, and then under the lights completely bottle it, and everyone just sees that, so they don't see that you're actually any good. So the pressure comes from wanting to live up to what you're capable of doing, which is the hard balance, especially at like lower levels going up. Like that's the key difference, I think.
Yeah, I think it was Muhammad Ali said he hated every single day of training. But he loved every single fight that he was in. So, but then you get other people who love every single day of training, and perhaps maybe hate that 10 minutes or hate that 15 minutes in any sport. So,
I find it so interesting. I'm currently doing a master's degree in performance psychology. I'm getting a good insight into like different sports and how high performers like start to go through their processes and things like that. And it's a common thing across every sport that you see. It's the difference between training and performance, like performing in front of your audience, or performing in front of a crowd, or like when it actually counts on the stage. And that's where we talk about like gym fighters, guys who are amazing that just can't do it in competition for whatever reason. I find it so interesting. But yeah, grappling for me is a lot less anxiety provoking. You can have a little bit more fun. You can take more risks, I think. So I think that's the aspect of it. It's like just being able to take those risks without having to get your head plastered in. So
And then what about you then? So obviously Team Wales. So tell us about Team Wales then, because obviously again speaking to the other guys, and because obviously you guys are affiliated with Team Drag, it obviously made sense. You were going to obviously go in there and represent Ash Williams and obviously Team Drag and Team Wales. So, but how did it all come about for yourself?
So to get on this event, it was I got a message from the promoter saying, Ash has put your name forward to go to this event. Send me a picture. And I was like, right, brilliant. So he just put my name forward. So that was quite funny. But I train up there fairly regularly. So I train up there with their MMA guys, and I go in there for their no-gi. And I've done a fair amount of time up there. That's always an experience, because they've got some excellent gi grapplers up there as well. But yeah, train up there all the time, like there's guys up there who are competing at relatively speaking, there's a much higher level of competitor up there. They've got a high culture of like competition across EDCC trials and like that next tier of competition. And it's nice to go against those guys. They're out competing every weekend. We got guys in our gym that are competing every other weekend. Like James has competed, I think, more than anybody this year.
He said twice a month for the whole year. So
I love it. So the culture's building a lot more now that like lockdown's open, but we're open back up fully. So everybody's just like chomping at the bit to go and get into competitions. But in terms of the Team Wales thing, like going down there's guys competing all the time. Like day sessions, evening sessions. So there's it's a good affiliation to have. We get on really, really well with those guys. And my head coach, Tom O'Hagan, he's on the event as well. He lives there full time now, so he's out in Swansea all the time. He travels to our back home to coach us, and we're getting a lot of extra knowledge from those guys. It's really helpful.
It's an awesome team as well. I mean, Team Drag, and it's been something that they've building up for years. Again, it's not been an overnight thing. It might be, a lot of people might look and say, "Oh, they've just came on the scene," but anybody that's in the community knows how long these guys have been at it, and knows how much effort they put in and things like that as well.
Yeah, well, I think Chris Reese, who's Chris Reese Academy is the name of the overall gym over there. He was Wales's first black belt, I believe. So he's been on the scene for the longest time, you know.
Yeah, forever.
About the unicorn, so he's been around for a long time. So it's one of those things where they've got a deep rooted culture of jiu-jitsu over there, and I think the Welsh, I noticed it from the MMA point of view as well. The MMA standpoint, the Welsh fighters tend to be a lot more well versed in the grappling arts than elsewhere. I think the Team Wales are coming for everything, I think.
Yeah. And then what about you then? So obviously we know your amateur career, obviously your MMA career and so on, but let's talk about jiu-jitsu. I mean, what kind of things, or jiu-jitsu, grappling and so on, what kind of things do you fancy seeing yourself doing for the rest of the year then, Mitch?
Well, I've won, so this year I want to, depending on my MMA schedule, that's taking priority, I think, in my life at the moment, but I want to get on as many super fights as possible. I'm really interested in doing some team events as well, like get on some of the team grappling events. I think they're quite cool formats. I've not been a part of one before, so I'd love to have a go at that rule set. I really enjoy submission only, no time limit, because I think on a long enough timeline, I'll get most people. I think the shorter time limits and like points and things like that, I think just find a winner. I know James did one recently, but it was coincided with my MMA fight, unfortunately. But that rule set really excites me. The British at the end of the year, I'm hoping to set some time aside to do that as well. I won the British my first week as a purple belt, so I'd like to win it again just to reinforce. I missed the last one, so I'll reinforce that I'm the guy. So hopefully I'll be able to replicate that. But super fights, a lot of shows and team events. If anyone's got any team events that they want a lanky purple belt on, and get me in.
Well, listen, obviously we've got Grapple Kings next week. Obviously, if Team Wales come away with the victory, then chances are you're going to be heading over to Ireland come tail end of the year, November, December time. So potentially could be in that Welsh team again for the final. Yeah,
that'd be good. It's against Ireland, is it? Yeah. The guy who
Team Ireland,
IMAF tournament, he's a good grappler. He's from Ireland, so Mohammed
maybe a rematch. So maybe a rematch in grappling. So, but yeah, the Team Ireland headed by I'm trying to think who it was, Keith Kavanagh. Or was it Kieran Davern? Sorry. So yeah, they had an absolutely fantastic team. So did Team Northern Ireland, had an unbelievable team as well. So yeah, whether it be Team England or Team Wales, as I said, you guys will definitely go over and represent whichever country that you represent. So and final thing for you then, Mitch. So obviously you've been in the game for a while, so quite a few years, but and I mean, you've trained again with a lot of amazing people over the years. But anybody you want to shout out to, so the usual friends, family members, teammates, or even any sponsors that you may have.
Yeah, so the main people that I'm training with, like just all my, they've been on here already: James, Paul Jeffries, Pin, Tom O'Hagan, my brother. There's loads of, I could name everybody, but there's so many. All the guys over at Drake really helping me out massively. Sponsors, Grapple Machine. Yeah, they're helping a lot of our guys. A lot of the Drake guys are working with them in some capacity, but those guys have helped me over the years massively with weight cuts, things like that. So if you're a grappler and you want to take it seriously, they are the guys that you need to be in contact with. I am telling you now, it is so helpful. And then tatami fightwear. So if you're not wearing tatami, you're doing it wrong, aren't you? So
definitely. Listen, I think everybody in Wales wears tatami. Everybody that, whether it be Wales or attached to Wales, anybody that's attached to Wales are all kicking about in tatami stuff. So,
Gilbert Burns, JT Torres, we got some American, Brazilian guys, and it's expanding out now. So, but the Welsh guys, that's the roots in it. So.
Listen, I love tatami. I love tatami. I'd say that's one of my. I've got a couple of go-to gis, but tatami is one of the main ones that I wear whenever I'm training. So, yeah, love tatami. So big shout out to tatami. And so, guys, there we go. We're going to have Mitch Goode, so Impact Gym. He's going to be heading over to Cardiff, Radisson Blue Hotel, next Saturday, the 23rd of July. Now, it's going to be Grapple Kings 8. Now, anybody looking for tickets, make sure you head over to the Grapple Kings Facebook page. It'll take you through to Eventbrite. And tickets, I believe, £35. Anybody that can't make the event on the evening, now we did mention pay-per-view, it's going to be on Fight TV. Now, there is a couple of different options. You can get the standalone pay-per-view option, which is $14.99 now. My conversion isn't very good, all right? So, but I think it works out as about £12 or £13 roughly, maybe a little bit more. Anybody that's looking for to not get the standalone, you can go for the monthly direct debit option. It's $4.99. I think when I done mine just a couple of weeks ago, it was £4.19. Now, as I say, that'll get you the monthly subscription. So it'll give you all the Grapple Kings events. So you're going to have 3 between now and the end of the year. You're also going to get Grapple Fest on there as well. So all the Grapple Fest events. So for £4.19 a month, I mean, Mitch is obviously an MMA fighter, so he knows how much pay-per-views do cost. So, yeah, they can be expensive, but £4.19 a month is an absolute bargain for what you're going to get to see. So, Mitch, listen, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for obviously taking the time to speak to me. I said, absolutely buzzing. As I said, I followed obviously a bit of your MMA career, so absolutely buzzing to actually see you in person and be able to commentate on you as well. I'm with the commentator on the night, so obviously I'll have a lot of. Listen, I'll have a lot of good things to say about you. So a lot of good things. So. But listen, absolutely buzzing. Looking forward to it, buddy. But listen, enjoy the rest of your training. All right, and I'll see you in a week's time, buddy.
Awesome. Excited for it. Nice to speak to you. It's good.
You too, buddy. Take it easy. All right.
Thank you very much.